How's it going, everyone? James Lynch here for OddsChecker US, taking a look at Saturday's UFC Vegas 33 main event, which features Uriah Hall taking on Sean Strickland, and this is going to be taking place at the Apex in Las Vegas. Let me get off the screen here, and we'll take a look at the tail of the tape here. Uriah Hall, Sean Strickland. It's Uriah Hall who's a slight underdog in this fight. 17-9 record, taking on Sean Strickland, who's 23-3. Uriah Hall a lot older, 37 years old compared to just 30 years old for Sean Strickland. They're both over 6 feet tall. Uriah 6 feet tall, 6'1" for Sean Strickland. Uriah Hall going to have a slight reach advantage in this fight at 79.5, and Sean Strickland going to be in at 76. Uriah Hall actually trains at Fortis MMA in Texas with the likes of Jeff Neal and Ryan Spann and all the other talented fighters over there. Sean Strickland, he trains everywhere. He trains at Syndicate MMA. He also trains at Extreme Couture. Trained a little bit at King's MMA for this camp with Marvin Vettori. Just a lot of different training partners for this one, so really interesting matchup. It's sort of a tale of two fighters who are kind of in interesting spots in their career here. So Sean Strickland, in case you don't know here, like I mentioned the stats, he has looked great since moving up to middleweight in 2020. Three straight wins, I should say. His most impressive win to me here is that Brendan Allen win. He absolutely demolished Brendan Allen in that fight. First knockout loss for Brendan Allen in his career. Strickland, that was a really big win for him, and you saw Allen last weekend on the UFC card pick up a nice win over Puna Soriano. So that to me is the one win where it's like, okay, Sean Strickland really getting the attention of the middleweight division. He's coming off that win over Krzysztof Jotko back in May, so well-deserved shot here for Sean Strickland. And if you look at his losses outside of the Zaleski loss, his only other loss in the UFC is to Kamaru Usman. I mean, and actually Ponzinibbio as well. Forgot about that one, but in general, he's losing to a lot of really good fighters, and I just think welterweight was not the right division for him. I think he looks much better as a 185er. He's got knockout power. He's obviously a very fast guy as well. And interestingly enough, Sean Strickland and Uriah Hall used to train together as well, so a bit of familiarity there with both fighters as well. Now, Uriah Hall didn't even get to throw a strike in his last fight. If you remember, Chris Weidman broke his leg after throwing his first kick 17 seconds into that fight, so didn't get much out of that. The fight before that, a little bit better. Hall, knocking out Anderson Silva. It was a late finish, but Hall looked really good in that one. And then prior to that, he had a split decision win over Antonio Carlos Jr. In fact, most of Hall's wins, at least recently, are against fighters that aren't in the UFC anymore, including Antonio Carlos Jr., Anderson Silva. Weidman's still in the UFC, but again, we talked about that being kind of a weird fight. Bevon Lewis. Jotko's still in the UFC. He actually finished Jotko. They do have a common opponent in there. And if you look at his losses, Uriah Hall's losing to some of the best in the division. Paulo Costa, Gegard Mousasi, Derek Brunson, Robert Whittaker. These are all really top middleweights. So it's an interesting case to see how Hall's going to look in this fight. Hall, some fights he looks really good, like the fight he had against Gegard Mousasi, where he finished him in the first round, or second round, I should say, in that first fight they had. 25 seconds in the second round. And then there's other fights like the Paulo Costa fight that should have been a little bit more competitive, and he ended up getting finished in that one. So it's really going to be interesting to see if Hall can be the aggressor in this fight. And I think that's a tall task. Sean Strickland's a guy that will get in your face. Like we mentioned in the Brendan Allen fight, he was a guy that took Brendan completely out of his element. I have a feeling that's what's going to happen here as well. We've seen time and time again when Uriah Hall is backing up, he tends not to fight too well. Go look at the fight against Robert Whittaker, where he ended up losing a decision in that fight, but that was one where Whittaker was basically bullying him the entire time. And I know that fight was back in 2015, but still, there is a style, it seems, to beat Uriah Hall. So I think there's value on Sean Strickland as the betting favorite in this fight. He's going to be my pick for this one. I think Strickland's either going to get a late finish or a possible decision in this one. I don't think it'll be an early finish. If you look at Strickland, typically his fights do go the distance, at least recently. 2 of his last 3 fights have gone the full distance, but this is a 5-round fight. It is a main event, so there could be a possibility of Strickland getting the finish, which is why I think it'll be a little bit later in the fight. So there you go. I'm going to be taking Sean Strickland in the main event this Saturday. Let me know what you guys think. Who are you picking? Who do you think gets it done on Saturday night between Sean Strickland and Uriah Hall? Let me know in the comments. Follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Lynch on Sports. Make sure you subscribe to the OddsChecker US YouTube channel, where you will find my breakdowns every single week, along with some of my fighter interviews. I'm James Lynch. Enjoy the fights this weekend, and I'll talk to you soon.